I want to take you to a moment that feels like it could stop time itself, a moment so heavy with meaning that even the air seems to hold its breath. Picture this, a grand wedding hall, draped in ivory silk and blooming roses, the kind of place where dreams are sealed with vows and rings. The crowd is hushed, every eye fixed on the groom, a man whose name commands boardrooms and headlines, James Whittaker, the CEO whose fortune could buy entire cities. He stands tall, his suit sharp as a blade, but his hands tremble as he slides a diamond ring onto the finger of the woman before him, a woman whose face radiates quiet strength. Her name is Sarah, and her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, hold a story no one in that room could guess. The priest's voice fades, the music swells, and then James leans in, his lips brushing her ear, and whispers words meant only for her. It all started with that red toy car. Those words hang there, a secret wrapped in memory, a thread that could unravel everything. The guests clap, oblivious, their cheers a distant roar, but Sarah's breath catches, her hand tightening around his. She knows what he means. She sees it too, that battered red toy car, its paint chipped, its wheels wobbly, a relic from a moment that changed their lives forever. But how did they get here? How did a man like James, who once measured life in profits and power, end up whispering about a child's toy at his own wedding? And why does Sarah, a woman who fought her way through a world that tried to break her, look at him like he's both her savior and her storm? Let's step back, not forward, because this story doesn't unfold like most. It starts at the end, at this wedding, and winds backward, peeling away layers of joy and pain, until we find the truth hidden in that red toy car. The ceremony ends, and the guests spill into the ballroom, their laughter bright against the clink of champagne glasses. James and Sarah move through the crowd, their smiles practiced but their eyes locked on each other, as if no one else exists. He's older now, his hair touched with silver, but there's a softness in him that wasn't there before, a warmth that feels hard-won. She's radiant, her dress a cascade of lace, but her hands fidget, betraying a nervousness that doesn't match the moment. They dance, the first waltz, and as he spins her, her laughter breaks free, a sound that makes his chest ache. It's a sound he's heard before, in moments he thought he'd lost forever. But the guests don't know that. They see a perfect couple, a fairy tale sealed with a ring. They don't see the scars beneath, the years of longing, the secrets that nearly destroyed them. Let's pause here, because I need you to feel the weight of what's happening. This isn't just a wedding, it's a reckoning, a moment where two lives, torn apart by fate and lies, have somehow found their way back. But to understand why James whispered those words, why Sarah's eyes hold both love and fear, we have to go back, not to the day they fell in love, but to the day they almost lost everything. It's a day that started with a choice, a single act of kindness that set everything in motion. Picture James, not as the groom, but as a man at the height of his power, his life a carefully controlled empire. He's in his sleek black car, the city blurring past, when he sees something that stops him cold. Two children, no older than 7, standing on a street corner, their faces smudged with dirt, their clothes threadbare. They're twins, a boy and a girl, and they're selling toys, cheap, broken things laid out on a tattered blanket. Among them is a red toy car, its paint faded, one wheel missing, but it's the only thing they seem to care about, their small hands hovering protectively over it. James doesn't know why he stops. He's not a man who pauses for strangers, not a man who notices the small tragedies of the world. But something about those kids, their defiance in the face of despair, pulls him out of his car and onto that cracked sidewalk. The boy, Ethan, looks up first, his eyes wary but sharp, like he's learned too young how to measure a man's intentions. The girl, Emma, clutches the red toy car, her knuckles white. "It's not for sale," she says, her voice small but fierce, before James can even speak. He kneels, his expensive suit brushing the dirty pavement, and asks, "Why not?" Ethan answers, his words clipped, "It's for our mom. She needs it." James frowns, confused, but there's no time to ask more. A woman approaches, her face gaunt, her eyes hollow with exhaustion. It's Sarah, their mother, and the sight of her hits James like a punch. She's young, maybe 30, but life has aged her, carving lines of worry into her skin. She's carrying a bucket and a rag, her hands red from scrubbing floors, and when she sees James, she freezes, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "You shouldn't be here," she says, pulling the twins behind her. Her voice is steady, but there's a tremor beneath it, a fear she can't hide. James doesn't understand it then, doesn't know why her face feels like a memory he can't place. He only knows he can't walk away. "I want to help," he says, the words foreign on his tongue. Sarah laughs, a bitter sound, and shakes her head. "We don't need your pity." But Ethan tugs at her sleeve, his voice urgent. "Mom, he could buy the car. For the medicine." Sarah's face crumples, just for a moment, and James sees the truth. She's sick, desperately so, and these kids are fighting to save her with nothing but a toy car and their stubborn hope. He doesn't think, doesn't calculate. He pulls out his wallet, not to flash his wealth, but to do something, anything, to ease the weight in those children's eyes. "How much?" he asks, nodding at the red toy car. Emma hesitates, her fingers tightening around it, but Sarah nods, her jaw clenched. $5, Emma says, her voice breaking. James hands her $100 bill, ignoring her gasp, and takes the car, its plastic frame light in his hand but heavy with meaning. "Keep the change," he says, and Sarah's eyes flash with something, anger, shame, gratitude, he can't tell. She turns away, ushering the twins down the street, and James stands there, the car in his hand, feeling like he's just stepped into a story he doesn't understand. That moment, that red toy car, is the spark that lights everything. It's why he's standing here now, years later, sliding a ring onto Sarah's finger, whispering about a toy that holds their past. But how did they get from that street corner to this wedding? What secrets did Sarah carry, what choices did James make, that led them through pain and loss to this fragile, beautiful moment? I'm not going to tell you yet, because this story doesn't work that way. We're moving backward, peeling back the layers, and the next piece is darker, heavier, a moment where James almost lost her forever. It's a moment that starts with a photograph, a truth he wasn't ready to face, and a choice that would break his heart. Stay with me, because this is where the story starts to hurt, where the red toy car becomes more than a toy, it becomes a symbol of everything they've fought for, and everything they've lost. Let's step back from that wedding, from the glow of chandeliers and the weight of a ring, to a moment that feels like it could shatter glass. It's 2 years before James whispers those words about the red toy car, and the air is thick with regret, the kind that clings to your skin and won't let go. James isn't the groom yet, not the man softened by love. He's still the CEO, his life a fortress of steel and ambition, but tonight, he's unraveling. He's standing in his penthouse, the city a glittering sprawl below, clutching a photograph that's turned his world upside down. It's a small thing, creased and worn, but it holds a truth he can't escape. Sarah, the woman from the street corner, isn't just a stranger. She's someone he knew, someone he loved, and the twins, Ethan and Emma, are his. The photograph shows them years ago, before the world hardened them. Sarah's laughing, her hair loose, her eyes bright with a fire that's long since dimmed. James is there too, younger, his arm around her, his smile unguarded in a way he hasn't been since. They're on a pier, the same one where they met, where a red toy car sat on a vendor's table, a silly gift he'd bought her as a joke. But the twins aren't in the photo, and that's what breaks him now, the realization that they came later, after he walked away, after he let her slip through his fingers. He sinks into a chair, the photograph trembling in his hand, and the silence of the penthouse feels like a scream. How did he not know? How did he miss this? Let me take you to that night, the one that led to this photograph, because it's where the threads of their story start to tangle. It's 5 years before the wedding, and James is at a charity gala, the kind where wealth is flaunted as generosity. He's bored, his tie too tight, his mind on a deal that could double his empire. The room is a blur of sequins and fake laughter, but then he sees her, Sarah, a waitress, balancing a tray of champagne flutes, her movements graceful but strained, like she's carrying more than just drinks. She's out of place here, her simple black dress a stark contrast to the glittering crowd, and when their eyes meet, something in him stirs, a spark he doesn't recognize yet. She spills a drink, a clumsy moment that draws sneers from the guests, and James steps forward, not sure why. "It's fine," he says, his voice cutting through the murmurs, and he kneels to help her pick up the shattered glass. Her hands shake, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she meets his gaze, and there's a defiance there, a strength that makes his breath catch. "Thank you," she says, her voice low, and he notices the way her fingers brush his as they reach for the same shard. It's nothing, a fleeting touch, but it's the first crack in his carefully built walls. They don't talk much that night, but he finds her later, outside the venue, smoking a cigarette under a street lamp. The rain's starting to fall, and she's shivering, her dress too thin for the cold. He offers his jacket, and she hesitates before taking it, her eyes searching his face like she's trying to solve a puzzle. "You don't belong here," she says, not unkindly, and he laughs, a sound he hasn't heard from himself in years. "Neither do you," he replies, and for a moment, they're just two people, not a CEO and a waitress, not a man with everything and a woman with nothing. They walk to the pier, the rain soaking them, the neon lights casting colors across their faces. She tells him about her life, not the details but the weight of it, her mother's illness, her brother's addiction, the way she's always one step from falling apart. He listens, really listens, and finds himself telling her things he's never said aloud, the loneliness of his success, the father who never saw him as enough, the fear that he's become the man he swore he'd never be. They buy the red toy car from a vendor, a whim that makes her laugh, and he tucks it into her pocket, saying, "For luck." She smiles, and he thinks, just for a second, that he could love her. But life doesn't pause for moments like that. The next morning, he's back in his world, his phone buzzing with meetings, his assistant handing him a schedule that doesn't include her. He means to call her, to find her, but days turn into weeks, and the red toy car becomes a memory he buries under contracts and ambition. Sarah waits, at first with hope, then with resignation, until the day she realizes she's pregnant. She tries to find him, standing outside his towering office building, but the security guards turn her away, their eyes cold. She writes a letter, pours her heart into it, but it's returned unopened, stamped with his company's logo. And so she builds a life without him, her twins the only light in a world that keeps trying to break her. Back in the penthouse, James doesn't know this yet. He only knows the photograph, found in a box of his late wife's things, a woman who knew about Sarah and kept her secret. His wife, Eleanor, elegant and calculating, had seen the letter, had known about the twins, and chose to bury the truth. James's hands clench, the photograph crumpling, and he feels a rage he's never known, not at Sarah, but at himself, at Eleanor, at the life he's let slip away. He grabs his coat, the red toy car now in his pocket, a weight he can't ignore, and heads into the night, determined to find her. He doesn't know where she is, doesn't know if she'll forgive him, but he drives through the city, the streets blurring, until he stops at a hospital, the place where Sarah's mother died, the place where she might be. He's wrong, she's not there, but he finds a nurse who remembers her, who tells him about the twins, about Sarah's illness, about the red toy car they carried like a talisman. It's not enough, but it's a start, and as he stands in the hospital's sterile light, he knows he's running out of time. The story's not over, but it's darker now, and the next piece is where it all falls apart, where Sarah's strength is tested, and James's choices come with a cost he can't yet imagine. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a lifeline, and the truth starts to hurt. Let's pull back further, away from that penthouse where James clutches a photograph like it's his last lifeline, to a moment that feels like the world holding its breath before a storm. It's 3 years before the wedding, a year before James finds that damning photo, and Sarah's life is a fragile thread stretched taut over a chasm of despair. She's not the radiant bride yet, not the woman who'll stand beside James with a ring on her finger. She's a mother fighting to keep her twins alive, her body weakened by an illness that creeps closer every day, her heart heavy with a love she's buried deep. The red toy car sits on a rickety shelf in her cramped apartment, its chipped paint a silent reminder of a night she can't forget, a night with a man who promised her the stars and then vanished into his own world. The apartment is a single room, its walls stained with damp, the air thick with the smell of mildew and desperation. Sarah moves slowly, her hands trembling as she stirs a pot of watery soup on a hot plate. Ethan and Emma, her twins, are 6 now, their faces thin but their eyes bright with a stubborn hope that breaks her heart. They're playing on the floor, using bottle caps as pretend cars, their laughter a fragile defiance against the hunger gnawing at them. Sarah watches them, her chest tight, knowing the soup won't be enough, knowing the medicine she needs costs more than she can earn in a month. She's been cleaning houses, washing dishes, anything to keep them fed, but her cough is worse, her strength fading, and the fear that she'll leave her children alone is a shadow she can't outrun. She sits beside them, pulling them close, and Emma holds up the red toy car, its missing wheel making it wobble. "Tell us about the man who gave it to you," she says, her voice eager, and Sarah's smile is a painful thing, a mask she wears for them. "He was kind," she says, her voice soft, "and he made me laugh." Ethan frowns, his small hands clenching. "Why didn't he stay?" Sarah's throat tightens, and she brushes a curl from his forehead. "Sometimes people get lost," she says, and it's the closest she's come to telling them about James, the man whose name she's never spoken aloud, the man whose absence is a wound that never heals. She doesn't tell them about the letter she wrote, the one she poured her soul into, begging him to know about the twins, about her. She doesn't tell them how she stood outside his office, her pregnant belly hidden under a coat, only to be turned away by a guard who looked at her like she was nothing. She doesn't tell them about Eleanor, James's wife, who found her at the hospital after the twins were born, her voice cold as she offered money to disappear. "He doesn't want you," Eleanor had said, her eyes glittering with triumph, and Sarah, too tired to fight, believed her. She took the money, not for herself, but for the twins, and moved to this crumbling apartment, building a life from scraps while James built his empire, oblivious to the family he'd left behind. Tonight, though, something shifts. Sarah's at the sink, washing dishes from a neighbor's catering job, when the radio crackles, a news report about James Whitaker, the CEO who's just donated millions to a children's hospital. His voice comes through, smooth and confident, and Sarah freezes, the plate slipping from her hands. It's him, the man from the pier, the man who bought her the red toy car, and the sound of his voice is a knife, cutting through years of silence. She sinks to the floor, her hands covering her face, and the twins rush to her, their small arms wrapping around her. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emma asks, and Sarah shakes her head, forcing a smile. "Just tired, baby," she lies, but her heart is racing, a dangerous hope flickering to life. She doesn't want to hope, doesn't want to believe he could care, but the news report lingers, his words about giving back echoing in her mind. She thinks of the twins, of their laughter, their dreams, and wonders if he'd want to know them, if he'd look at their eyes, his eyes, and feel what she feels. She pulls out a notebook, its pages worn, and starts writing again, not a letter this time, but a list of things she wants for her children, a warm coat for Ethan, art supplies for Emma, a doctor who can make her well. It's a small act, a way to hold on to the hope she's afraid to name, and when she tucks the twins into their shared mattress, she whispers, "We're going to be okay," even though she's not sure she believes it. The next day, she takes the twins to the park, a rare treat, and watches them run, the red toy car in Emma's pocket, a talisman they never leave behind. Sarah sits on a bench, her cough worse, her vision blurring, and she doesn't see the man across the street, watching her. It's James, not by chance but by design, because he's been searching for her, driven by a guilt he can't name. He's seen her face in a charity report, a photo of her volunteering at a shelter, and something about her eyes, her smile, has haunted him. He doesn't know about the twins yet, doesn't know the truth, but he's here, his car parked discreetly, his heart pounding as he watches her laugh with her children. He doesn't approach her, not yet. He's not ready, and neither is she. But as he watches, he feels a pull, a memory of a night on a pier, of a red toy car and a woman who made him feel alive. He drives away, the image of her burned into his mind, and Sarah, unaware, takes the twins home, her notebook heavier with dreams she's afraid to chase. This moment, this near miss, is where their paths start to converge again, but it's not time yet. The next piece of their story is darker, a moment where Sarah's hope is tested, and James's world begins to crack under the weight of secrets he doesn't even know he's carrying. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a beacon, guiding them through a storm that's only just beginning. Let's slip further back, away from that park where Sarah's laughter hides her fading strength and James watches from a distance, his heart stirring with a memory he can't yet name. It's 4 years before the wedding, a time when the red toy car is still a cherished treasure in the twins' small hands, but the world feels like it's closing in on Sarah. She's not the woman who'll one day wear a wedding ring, not yet the bride who'll hear James whisper about that toy. She's a mother carrying the weight of survival, her body betraying her with every cough, her dreams shrinking to fit the confines of a life that offers no mercy. The apartment is colder now, the walls seeming to lean inward, and the red toy car sits on a windowsill, catching the weak light of a winter morning, a symbol of a hope she's afraid to touch. Sarah's at a breaking point, though she'd never admit it. The twins, Ethan and Emma, are 5, their energy a bright spark in the dimness of their world. They're drawing on scraps of paper, their crayons worn to nubs, and Sarah watches them, her hands folded to hide their trembling. She's been working double shifts at a diner, her lungs burning with every breath, but the money barely covers rent, let alone the medicine she needs. The twins don't know how sick she is, don't know that she skips meals to make sure they eat, don't know that every night she lies awake, terrified of leaving them alone. But they feel her fear, in the way her smiles falter, in the way her voice catches when she sings them to sleep. Today, she's cleaning a house for a wealthy client, a mansion that makes her feel smaller than ever. The owner, a sharp-eyed woman named Eleanor, watches her with a mix of pity and disdain, her voice clipped as she points out a smudge on a mirror. Sarah scrubs harder, her arms aching, and when Eleanor leaves the room, she lets herself pause, her reflection staring back from the polished glass. She doesn't recognize the woman she sees, gaunt, hollow-eyed, a shadow of the girl who laughed on a pier with a man who bought her a red toy car. That night feels like a dream now, James's face a blur she's tried to forget, but the toy car is real, tucked in Emma's pocket, a reminder of a promise that never came true. As she dusts a bookshelf, a photograph slips to the floor, and Sarah's breath stops. It's James, younger, his smile easy, standing beside Eleanor, who's now his wife. The frame is silver, expensive, and Sarah's hands shake as she picks it up, her fingers tracing his face. She didn't know he was married, didn't know the life he'd built while she raised their twins alone. The realization is a quiet wound, not sharp but deep, and she sets the frame back carefully, her heart heavier than before. Eleanor returns, her eyes narrowing as she sees Sarah's expression, and there's a moment, brief but electric, where Sarah feels exposed, like Eleanor knows more than she should. "You're thorough," Eleanor says, her tone almost kind, but there's a calculation behind it. "Do you have children?" Sarah nods, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. "2," she says, and Eleanor's smile tightens, her gaze flicking to the photograph. "They must be proud of you," she says, and Sarah hears the dismissal in it, the unspoken command to leave. She finishes her work, her mind racing, and when she steps into the cold evening, the weight of that photograph follows her home. She doesn't know that Eleanor recognized her, doesn't know that the letter she sent James years ago is hidden in a drawer in that very house, unopened but never forgotten. Back at the apartment, the twins are waiting, their faces lighting up as she walks in. Ethan hands her a drawing, a crude sketch of a family, 2 children, a woman, and a man holding a red toy car. "Is this Daddy?" he asks, and Sarah's heart twists, her fingers brushing the paper. "Maybe," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, and Emma climbs into her lap, the red toy car clutched in her small hand. "He'll come back, right?" she asks, and Sarah nods, because lying is easier than breaking their hearts. She tucks them in, the toy car under Emma's pillow, and sits by the window, her notebook open, her pen hovering over the page. She wants to write to James again, to tell him about the twins, but the memory of Eleanor's eyes stops her, the fear that she'll be turned away again. Across the city, James is in his office, his desk a fortress of papers and power, but his mind is elsewhere. He's thinking about a woman he met years ago, a waitress whose laugh made him feel alive, whose face he can't quite recall but whose presence lingers like a song he can't forget. He doesn't know about the twins, doesn't know about Sarah's struggle, but he's been dreaming of a pier, of rain, of a red toy car. He pulls a file from his drawer, a charity report, and scans it, his eyes catching on a name, Sarah Miller, a volunteer at a shelter. It's a common name, but something about it pulls at him, a thread he's afraid to tug. He doesn't act on it, not yet. He's married to Eleanor, a woman whose elegance masks a ruthlessness he's only beginning to see. He's building an empire, his days filled with deals and decisions, but at night, when the city's quiet, he thinks of that pier, of a woman who saw him as more than his name. Sarah, meanwhile, is fighting to survive, her hope fraying but not gone, the red toy car a beacon in her darkness. Their paths are closer now, the distance between them shrinking, but the next moment is where it all starts to unravel, where a choice James makes and a secret Eleanor keeps push Sarah to the edge. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a symbol of everything they've lost, and the truth begins to claw its way out. Let's step back again, deeper into the shadows of a time when the red toy car was still a fragile thread connecting two lives that fate seemed determined to pull apart. It's 5 years before the wedding, just months after Sarah's encounter with Eleanor's photograph, and the world feels like it's tightening its grip on her. She's not yet the woman who'll stand beside James, her hand trembling under the weight of a ring. She's a mother on the edge, her body frail, her heart battered but unbroken, fighting for her twins in a city that doesn't care. The red toy car sits on a cracked windowsill, its chipped paint catching the dim light of dawn, a relic of a night she clings to even as it hurts her to remember. Sarah's apartment is quieter now, the twins asleep on their shared mattress, their small bodies curled together for warmth. Ethan and Emma are 4, their faces still round with baby fat but their eyes too old, carrying questions they don't yet know how to ask. Sarah's awake, her cough a low rasp she tries to muffle, her hands sorting through a pile of bills she can't pay. She's been fired from the diner, her illness making her too slow, too unreliable, and the cleaning jobs are drying up, the wealthy clients like Eleanor moving on to younger, stronger women. She's applied for aid, stood in lines that stripped her of pride, but the system is a maze, and she's running out of time. The twins need shoes, food, a future, and she needs medicine, but every dollar she earns slips through her fingers like sand. She stands, moving carefully to avoid waking the twins, and picks up the red toy car, its plastic cool against her palm. It's silly, a child's toy, but it's her anchor, a piece of James she can't let go. She thinks of that night on the pier, his laugh, the way he looked at her like she was enough. She doesn't know he's married, doesn't know Eleanor's intercepted her letter, but she knows he's out there, building a life she can't touch. She's tried to find him, once, standing outside his office with a letter she never sent, but the guards and the glass doors were a wall she couldn't breach. Now, as her illness worsens, she wonders if she should try again, for the twins' sake, for the chance that he might care. Across the city, James is in a different world, his office a tower of glass and steel, his life a carefully orchestrated performance. He's not the man who'll whisper about a toy car at a wedding, not yet. He's a CEO at the peak of his power, his days filled with mergers and meetings, his nights with Eleanor, whose elegance hides a sharpness he's starting to notice. But there's a restlessness in him, a discontent he can't name. He's been dreaming again, of a pier, of rain, of a woman whose laugh felt like home. He doesn't know her name, doesn't know she's Sarah, but her face haunts him, a blur of memory that slips away when he tries to hold it. Today, their paths cross, not by chance but by the cruel hand of coincidence. Sarah's at a shelter, volunteering to keep her mind off her troubles, serving soup to a line of weary faces. The shelter's hosting a charity event, a photo op for the city's elite, and James is there, pressured by Eleanor to show his human side. He's uncomfortable, his suit too stiff, his smile forced as he shakes hands and poses for cameras. Sarah's in the back, ladling soup, her hair tied back, her face pale but composed. She doesn't see him at first, doesn't know he's there, but when she hands a bowl to a man and looks up, their eyes meet and the world seems to stop. James freezes, the bowl in his hand, her face a jolt to his system. He doesn't know why, doesn't understand the pull, but her eyes, green, fierce, tired, feel like a memory he's lost. Sarah's breath catches, her hands trembling as she recognizes him, the man from the pier, the man whose toy car her twins cherish. She wants to speak, to say his name, but fear stops her, the memory of Eleanor's cold voice, the guards, the letter returned. "Thank you," James says, his voice low, and she nods, her throat tight, unable to form words. Their fingers brush as he takes the bowl, a fleeting touch that sends a shiver through her, and for a moment, they're not a CEO and a volunteer, but two people who once shared a night under neon lights. He lingers, watching her as she serves the next person, his mind racing. He wants to ask her name, to know why she feels so familiar, but Eleanor's voice cuts through, sharp and impatient. "James, we're late," she says, her hand on his arm, her eyes flicking to Sarah with a glint of recognition. Sarah turns away, her heart pounding, and James lets Eleanor pull him toward the cameras, his gaze lingering on Sarah until she's out of sight. He doesn't know about the twins, doesn't know the truth, but that moment, that touch, plants a seed, a question he can't shake. Sarah finishes her shift, her hands shaking as she walks home, the red toy car in her pocket now, a weight she carries for strength. She thinks of James's eyes, the way they softened, and wonders if he remembered her, if he felt what she did. But Eleanor's presence, her possessive grip, is a warning, and Sarah pushes the hope down, focusing on the twins, on surviving another day. James, back in his office, can't focus, his assistant's voice a drone as he stares out the window, the city a blur. He doesn't know why that woman's face won't leave him, but he feels a crack in his world, a fault line that's starting to widen. This moment, this near connection, is where their story teeters, where a single word could have changed everything. But it's not time yet, and the next piece is heavier, a moment where Sarah's fight for her twins takes her to the brink, and James's life begins to unravel under the weight of secrets he's only beginning to sense. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a lifeline, and the distance between them starts to close, even as the pain deepens. Let's drift further back, away from that fleeting moment in the shelter where Sarah and James's eyes locked, a spark of recognition buried under years of distance and secrets. It's 6 years before the wedding, mere weeks after Sarah's heart broke at the sight of James's photograph in Eleanor's mansion, and the red toy car is still a fresh wound, a treasure the twins, barely 3 years old, carry like a piece of their mother's heart. Sarah's world is a tightrope, her every step a battle against poverty and illness, her love for Ethan and Emma the only thing keeping her from falling. She's not the bride who'll one day hear James whisper about that toy, not yet. She's a woman clinging to hope in a city that seems to have none left for her, and today, that hope is about to be tested in a way she never expected. The apartment is a sliver of warmth in a cold world, its single bulb casting shadows on the peeling walls. Sarah's sitting on the floor, her twins curled against her, their small hands clutching the red toy car as she tells them a story about a brave boy and girl who saved their kingdom. Ethan's eyes are wide, Emma's thumb in her mouth, and Sarah's voice is steady, hiding the cough that's been stealing her breath. She's been working at a laundromat, folding clothes until her hands ache, but the pay is barely enough for rent, and the twins' shoes are wearing thin. She's been saving coins in a jar, dreaming of a doctor's visit, but every day feels like a choice between her health and their survival. Today, she's at the laundromat, sorting linens, when a man walks in, his suit crisp, his presence out of place among the humming machines. It's James, not by chance but by a twist of fate neither of them could predict. He's there to inspect the property, part of a real estate deal his company is considering, but his mind is elsewhere, distracted by a restlessness he can't shake. He's not the man who'll stand at an altar, not yet the father who'll learn about his twins. He's a CEO whose life is measured in deals and deadlines, married to Eleanor, whose cold ambition is starting to suffocate him. But when he sees Sarah, bent over a pile of sheets, her hair falling into her face, something in him stirs, a memory of a pier, of rain, of a red toy car. Sarah doesn't notice him at first, her focus on the work, but when she turns to grab another basket, their eyes meet, and the air feels charged, like the moment before a storm. She freezes, her hands gripping the basket, recognizing him instantly, the man from the pier, the man whose laugh once made her believe in miracles. James's breath catches, her face a puzzle he can't solve, her green eyes pulling at a memory he's buried under years of ambition. "Do I know you?" he asks, his voice softer than he means it to be, and Sarah's heart races, a mix of hope and fear. She wants to tell him everything, about the twins, the toy car, the letter, but Eleanor's face flashes in her mind, and she hesitates, her voice caught in her throat. "I don't think so," she says, her words a shield, and she turns back to the sheets, her hands trembling. James steps closer, his instincts overriding his logic, and notices a small red toy car on the counter, its paint chipped, one wheel missing. It's identical to the one he gave her, and his chest tightens, a question forming he's not ready to ask. "Nice car," he says, pointing, and Sarah's eyes flick to it, her face paling. "It's my kids," she says, her voice barely audible, and the word kids hits James like a stone, though he doesn't know why. He wants to say more, to ask her name, but a colleague calls him, and the moment slips away, the deal pulling him back to his world. Sarah watches him leave, her heart pounding, the red toy car a weight in her pocket now, a reminder of what she didn't say. She thinks of the twins, of their questions about their father, and wonders if she's made a mistake, if she should have risked it all to tell him. But the memory of Eleanor's cold eyes, the letter returned, keeps her silent, and she finishes her shift, her mind a storm of what-ifs. She doesn't know that James is shaken too, that he's sitting in his car, the image of that toy car burning in his mind, a nagging sense that he's missing something vital. He doesn't go home that night, not right away. He drives to the pier, the place where he met her, though he doesn't know it's Sarah yet. The neon lights are dimmer now, the vendor's gone, but he stands there, the rain starting to fall, and tries to remember her face, her laugh. He doesn't know about the twins, doesn't know about Eleanor's betrayal, but he feels a crack in his carefully built life, a pull towards something he's lost. Sarah, back at the apartment, tucks the twins in, the red toy car under Ethan's pillow, and whispers a promise to them, to herself, "I'll keep you safe, no matter what." But her cough is worse, her strength fading, and she knows she's running out of time. This moment, this near miss in the laundromat, is where their stories brush against each other, so close to truth but still separated by fear and secrets. It's a moment that could have changed everything, but it passes, leaving them both with a longing they can't name. The next piece of this story is heavier, a time when Sarah's fight for her twins pushes her to the brink, and James's world begins to fracture under the weight of a life he's starting to question. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a symbol of what might have been, and the distance between them feels both infinite and impossibly small. Let's wind the clock back further, away from that charged moment in the laundromat where Sarah and James stood on the edge of recognition, the red toy car a silent witness to their unspoken truths. It's 7 years before the wedding, just weeks after that night on the pier when James gave Sarah the toy, a fleeting promise neither knew would define them. Sarah's not the bride who'll one day tremble under James's whisper, not yet a mother carrying the weight of twins. She's a young woman, barely 25, her life a patchwork of odd jobs and quiet dreams, her heart still raw from a night that felt like a beginning but ended in silence. The red toy car sits in her pocket, its paint still bright, a small, foolish hope she can't let go. Sarah's in a new city, having left her small town to escape a past that clung like damp rot, her mother's illness, her brother's addiction, a life that offered no room for her own desires. She's working as a waitress, her apron stained, her smile practiced but genuine, and she's renting a room above a noisy bar, its walls thin enough to hear every argument downstairs. The red toy car is her only keepsake, a reminder of James, the man who saw her, really saw her, for one rain-soaked night. She doesn't know his last name, doesn't know he's a Whitaker, heir to an empire, but she replays their conversation, his laugh, the way he tucked the toy into her pocket with a grin. She's written him a letter, a naive thing full of hope, but she hasn't sent it, afraid he'll be a dream that doesn't hold up in daylight. Tonight, she's working a late shift at a diner, the kind of place where truckers and loners nurse coffee under fluorescent lights. The bell above the door jingles, and a woman walks in, her presence like a cold wind. It's Eleanor, though Sarah doesn't know her name yet, doesn't know she's James's fiancée, the woman who'll one day become his wife and guard his secrets with a ruthless hand. Eleanor's elegant, her coat tailored, her eyes sharp as she scans the diner, settling on Sarah with a look that feels like a blade. She's here on purpose, though Sarah can't know that, driven by a tip from a mutual acquaintance who saw James talking to a waitress on the pier, a moment Eleanor's already decided to erase. "You're Sarah, aren't you?" Eleanor asks, her voice smooth but laced with something darker. Sarah nods, confused, wiping her hands on her apron. "Do I know you?" she asks, and Eleanor's smile is thin, a predator's smile. "You don't, but I know about you," she says, sliding into a booth. "You met someone recently, didn't you? A man who bought you a toy car." Sarah's heart stumbles, her hand slipping into her pocket to touch the red toy car, its edges worn from her fingers. "How do you know that?" she asks, her voice barely steady, and Eleanor leans forward, her eyes glinting. "He's my fiancé," she says, the word a deliberate cut, and he doesn't need distractions. Sarah feels the floor tilt, the diner's hum fading to a dull roar. Fiancé. The word is a wall, a truth she wasn't prepared for, and she grips the counter to keep from swaying. "I didn't know," she says, her voice small, and Eleanor's laugh is soft, almost pitying. "Of course you didn't," she says. "He's good at making people feel special, but it never lasts. You're not the first, and you won't be the last." Sarah's chest aches, the red toy car heavy in her pocket, a foolish dream turned to ash. She wants to argue, to say that James was different, that he saw her, but Eleanor's certainty, her polished cruelty, makes her doubt everything. Eleanor pulls an envelope from her purse, sliding it across the table. "This is for you," she says, her voice brisk now, businesslike. "Take it and forget him. It's better for everyone." Sarah stares at the envelope, her hands trembling, and opens it to find a check, $5,000, more money than she's ever seen. "I don't want it," she says, pushing it back, but Eleanor's eyes narrow, her voice dropping. "Don't be stupid," she says. "You're nothing to him. Take the money and disappear, or I'll make sure you regret it." Sarah's pride wars with her fear, but the thought of her mother's medical bills, her brother's debts, the life she's trying to build, makes her hesitate. She takes the check, her fingers cold, and Eleanor stands, her mission complete. "Good choice," she says, and leaves without looking back. Sarah finishes her shift in a daze, the check burning a hole in her pocket, the red toy car a weight she wants to throw away but can't. She walks home, the city's lights blurring through tears she won't let fall, and when she reaches her room, she sits on the bed, the toy car in her hands. She thinks of James, of his smile, his promise to find her, and wonders if it was all a lie. She doesn't know he's been looking for her, leaving messages at the gala venue, unaware that Eleanor's intercepted them. She doesn't know he's dreaming of her, his life with Eleanor feeling more like a cage every day. She only knows the check, the money that could change her life but feels like a betrayal of the one night she felt truly seen. She doesn't cash it, not yet. She tucks it into a drawer, the red toy car beside it, and tells herself she'll forget him. But weeks later, when she learns she's pregnant, the toy car becomes something else, a lifeline, a reminder of the man who might be the father of her twins, a hope she's too afraid to name. James, across the city, feels her absence like a phantom pain, unaware of the truth Eleanor's buried, unaware of the twins who'll one day change everything. The next moment is darker, a time when Sarah's choice to keep the twins sets her on a path of sacrifice, and James's life with Eleanor begins to crack. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a symbol of a love that refuses to die, even as the world tries to crush it. Let's step even further back, peeling away another layer of this story that's rushing toward the wedding where James will whisper about a red toy car. It's 8 years before that day, just days after Sarah's heart was shattered by Eleanor's cold words in the diner, and the red toy car is still new, its paint gleaming, a fragile promise Sarah carries like a bruise. She's not yet the mother of twins, not the woman who'll one day stand beside James, her hand trembling under a ring's weight. She's a young woman, 24, standing at a crossroads where hope and despair collide, her life a fragile thread stretched over a city that feels too big, too cruel. The truth she's about to face will change everything, and the red toy car will become more than a memento, it'll become a lifeline. Sarah's back in her room above the bar, the noise below a dull roar that can't drown out the storm in her mind. The red toy car sits on her bedside table, its bright plastic mocking her, a reminder of James, the man she thought saw her, the man Eleanor claimed was never hers. The check Eleanor gave her, $5,000, lies in a drawer, untouched but heavy, a temptation she's fighting with every ounce of her pride. She's been crying, her eyes red, her hands clenched, but she's not broken, not yet. She's replaying that night on the pier, James's laugh, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She wants to believe it was real, but Eleanor's words, "You're nothing to him," cut deeper than she'll admit. She's late for her shift at the diner, but she can't move, not yet. She picks up the red toy car, turning it over in her hands, and notices something she missed before, a tiny scratch on its side, a mark from when James tossed it playfully to her, laughing as she caught it. It's a small thing, but it grounds her, pulls her back to that moment when she felt alive. She thinks of calling the gala venue, of finding him, but the memory of Eleanor's icy certainty stops her. Instead, she pulls out the letter she wrote, the one she never sent, and reads it again, her words spilling across the page. "You made me believe in something, even for a night. I don't know if you meant it, but I'll never forget you." She tears it up, the pieces scattering like snow, and decides to move on, to bury the hope that's only brought her pain. But fate has other plans. That evening, as she's wiping down tables at the diner, a customer leaves behind a newspaper, its front page a splash of bold text, "Whitaker heir engaged to Eleanor Langley." There's a photo, James, his smile tight, standing beside Eleanor, whose hand rests possessively on his arm. Sarah's knees buckle, and she grips the counter, the red toy car in her apron pocket suddenly heavy, a stone dragging her down. The article confirms everything Eleanor said. James is a Whitaker, a man whose world is light years from hers, and he's promised to another. She feels foolish, small, a girl who dared to dream of a man who was never hers to keep. She doesn't cry, not this time. She finishes her shift, her movements mechanical, and walks home under a sky heavy with stars she can't see through the city's glare. But when she reaches her room, she feels a wave of nausea, a dizziness that's been creeping up for days. She dismisses it as exhaustion, stress, but deep down, she knows it's something more. The next morning, she buys a pregnancy test with her last few dollars, her hands shaking as she waits for the result. 2 lines. She's pregnant, and the truth hits her like a tidal wave. The child is James's, conceived in a moment she thought was love but now feels like a cruel trick. She sits on her bed, the red toy car in her lap, and feels the weight of her choices. She could cash Eleanor's check, use it to start over, but it feels like selling her soul, admitting she's nothing more than a mistake James once erased. She could find him, tell him about the baby, but the newspaper photo, Eleanor's words, make her fear he'd reject her, or worse, that Eleanor would destroy her. She thinks of her mother, who raised her alone, who died too young, and vows she'll do better for her child, no matter the cost. The red toy car becomes her anchor, a reminder of the man she loved, the man she'll raise this child without. Across the city, James is in a different kind of prison. He's in his office, the engagement announcement a chain he didn't choose but can't break. Eleanor's family is powerful, their union a merger as much as a marriage, and his father's approval hinges on it. But he's restless, his mind drifting to the pier, to a woman whose name he never got, whose laugh he can't forget. He's tried to find her, calling the gala venue, but the staff claim no record of a waitress matching her description, a lie Eleanor's money insured. He doesn't know about the pregnancy, doesn't know about the letter Sarah tore up, but he feels her absence, a void he can't explain. He keeps a small memento from that night, a matchbook from the pier's vendor stall, tucked in his desk drawer, and when he looks at it, he feels a pang, a sense that he's lost something he'll never get back. Eleanor notices his distraction, her eyes sharp, and tightens her grip, planning a future where no one, especially a waitress, can threaten her place. Sarah, meanwhile, makes a choice: she won't cash the check. She burns it, the flames curling the paper to ash, and keeps the red toy car, a promise to her unborn child that she'll be enough. The next moment is where her strength is forged, where the twins' arrival changes everything, and James's life with Eleanor begins to reveal its cracks. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a symbol of a love that endures, even as the world tries to bury it. Let's pull the thread back further, deeper into the shadows of a time before Sarah knew she carried James's twins, before the red toy car became a lifeline for her unborn children. It's 9 years before the wedding, mere days before Eleanor's chilling confrontation in the diner, and Sarah is still a young woman chasing a fragile hope in a city that feels like it's built to break her. She's not yet the mother who'll fight for Ethan and Emma, not the bride who'll tremble as James whispers about a toy car. She's 24, her heart raw from a night on a pier that promised everything and delivered nothing, her life a balancing act between survival and dreams she's afraid to name. The red toy car is new, its paint unblemished, tucked in her coat pocket like a secret she's not ready to share. Sarah's world is a blur of motion, her days spent juggling jobs, waitressing, cleaning, delivering flyers, her nights haunted by the memory of James, the man who bought her the toy car, whose laugh felt like a key to a door she's never found. She's living in that cramped room above the bar, its walls vibrating with the chaos below, but tonight, she's not there. She's walking the pier again, the same one where she met James, the neon lights flickering in the autumn chill, the air sharp with salt and regret. She doesn't know why she's here, doesn't know she's pregnant yet, doesn't know that Eleanor's already watching her, plotting to erase her from James's life. She only knows she's looking for something, a sign that the night she keeps replaying wasn't a lie. The pier is quieter now, the vendors packing up, the crowds thinning as the season fades. Sarah stands at the spot where James handed her the red toy car, her fingers tracing its edges through her coat, and she feels foolish, like a child clinging to a fairy tale. She's been trying to find him, asking at the gala venue where they met, but no one remembers a man matching his description, and she's too shy to push. She doesn't know his last name, doesn't know he's James Whittaker, heir to a fortune, promised to Eleanor in a deal that's more about power than love. She only knows his eyes, his voice, the way he made her feel like she could be more than the sum of her struggles. She sits on a bench, the toy car in her hands, and watches the waves, their rhythm a lullaby she wishes she could believe in. A vendor, an older man with kind eyes, notices her, recognizes her from that night. "You're the girl with the toy car," he says, his voice warm, and Sarah startles, her cheeks flushing. "He seemed special," the vendor adds, nodding at the toy, and Sarah's throat tightens, her fingers closing around it. "He was," she says, her voice barely audible, and the vendor hands her a hot chocolate, a small kindness that makes her eyes sting. She thanks him, sipping the drink, and for a moment, she lets herself imagine James finding her, keeping his promise to come back. Across the city, James is in a different kind of cage. He's in his family's mansion, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his father's voice a low drone about legacy and responsibility. Eleanor's there, her smile practiced, her hand on his arm as they discuss their engagement, a union that will cement alliances and fortunes. James feels trapped, his mind drifting to the pier, to a woman whose name he never got, whose laugh he can't shake. He's been restless since that night, his dreams filled with rain and neon, and he's tried to find her, driving past the gala venue, asking discreet questions, but his world is too loud, too demanding, to let him search properly. He doesn't know Eleanor's already seen the threat, doesn't know she's hired someone to track Sarah, to ensure she stays a memory. He slips away from the dinner, stepping onto the balcony, the city a sprawl of lights below. He pulls the matchbook from his pocket, the one from the pier's vendor stall, its edges worn from his fingers. It's a small thing, but it grounds him, a tether to a night when he felt free, when he was just James, not a Whitaker, not a pawn in his father's game. He thinks of her, the waitress with the fierce eyes, and wonders where she is, if she's kept the red toy car, if she remembers him. He doesn't know she's pregnant, doesn't know the truth that will one day unravel his life, but he feels her absence, a quiet ache that grows with every day. Sarah, back on the pier, finishes her hot chocolate and stands, the red toy car heavy in her pocket. She's about to leave when she sees a man in the distance, his silhouette familiar, his walk purposeful. Her heart leaps, thinking it's James, but it's not, it's a stranger, and the disappointment is a physical pain, a reminder of how fragile her hope is. She heads home, the city's noise swallowing her, and when she reaches her room, she places the toy car on her table, a vow to herself, she'll stop looking for him, stop dreaming of a man who's probably forgotten her. But she can't throw the toy away, can't let go of the one night she felt truly seen. She doesn't know that Eleanor's already moving, her plan in motion, the diner confrontation just days away. She doesn't know that James is fighting his own battle, his engagement to Eleanor a chain he's starting to resent. The red toy car is their only connection now, a small, stubborn thing that holds their story together, even as the world tries to tear it apart. The next moment is where Sarah's hope is crushed, where Eleanor's power asserts itself, and James's life takes a turn he can't yet see. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes a symbol of a love that's slipping away, and the truth begins to bury itself under lies. Let's dive into the very beginning of this tangled tale, 9 years and a heartbeat before James whispers about a red toy car at a wedding that feels like a miracle. This is the moment where it all starts, where Sarah and James are strangers about to collide, where the red toy car is just a toy, not yet a symbol of love, loss, and redemption. It's a crisp autumn night, and Sarah, 24, is a waitress with dreams bigger than her paycheck, her life a patchwork of hope and hustle in a city that doesn't care. James, 32, is a man on the cusp of an empire, his heart caged by ambition and expectation, not yet the groom who'll stand beside Sarah, not yet the father who'll learn about his twins. The red toy car is about to enter their story, a small spark that will ignite everything. Sarah's working at a charity gala, her black dress borrowed, her hair pinned up to hide its frayed ends. The venue is a glittering maze of wealth, chandeliers casting light like scattered diamonds, and she moves through it, a tray of champagne flutes balanced in her hands, her smile a shield against the world's indifference. She's used to being invisible, a shadow serving the city's elite, but tonight, she feels a restlessness, a longing for something she can't name. Her mother's sick, her brother's lost to addiction, and Sarah's carrying their weight, her dreams of college, of a life beyond survival, fading with every shift. But she's stubborn, her eyes fierce with a fire that refuses to go out, and when she laughs, it's a sound that cuts through the room's hum. James is here, reluctantly, his suit sharp, his presence commanding but his mind elsewhere. He's James Whitaker, heir to a fortune, but tonight, he's just a man tired of playing the part. His father's pushing him toward an engagement with Eleanor Langley, a woman whose elegance is a mask for her ruthlessness, and James feels the walls closing in, his life a script he didn't write. He's at the gala to be seen, to shake hands and smile for the cameras, but his heart's not in it, his eyes scanning the crowd for something real, something to break the monotony of his carefully built world. Their paths cross in a moment that feels like fate, though neither knows it yet. Sarah's tray wobbles, a flute tipping, and it shatters on the marble floor, drawing gasps and sneers from the guests. Her cheeks burn, her hands shaking as she kneels to gather the glass, and James, standing nearby, moves before he thinks, kneeling beside her, his expensive cuffs brushing the floor. "It's okay," he says, his voice low, steady, and Sarah looks up, her breath catching. His eyes are kind, not pitying, and for a second, she feels seen, not as a waitress, but as a person. "Thank you," she says, her voice soft, and their fingers brush as they reach for the same shard, a touch that sends a jolt through them both. They don't speak again, not then, but the moment lingers, a spark neither can ignore. Later, when Sarah's shift ends, she steps outside, the cold biting through her thin dress, and lights a cigarette, the pier across the street calling her with its neon glow. James finds her there, drawn by a pull he doesn't understand, his jacket slung over his shoulder, his tie loosened. "Rough night?" he asks, and she laughs, a sound that surprises him, bright and unguarded. "You could say that," she says, and they talk, not about wealth or status, but about life, her mother's stories, his father's expectations, the way the city feels like a trap and a promise all at once. They walk to the pier, the rain starting to fall, soft at first, then heavier, soaking their clothes but not their spirits. The vendors are closing up, but one stall remains, its table cluttered with trinkets. James spots the red toy car, its paint gleaming under the neon, and buys it on a whim, handing it to Sarah with a grin. "For luck," he says, and she laughs again, tucking it into her pocket, her fingers brushing his. They stand under a sagging awning, the rain a curtain around them, and share a moment that feels like it could last forever, her stories, his confessions, their laughter weaving a fragile bond. He tells her he'll find her, that he wants to see her again, and she believes him, her heart open in a way it hasn't been before. But the night ends, and reality creeps back. James gives her his number, scribbled on a matchbook, but Sarah loses it in the chaos of her life, her bag spilling on a bus the next day. James waits for her call, checks the gala venue, but his world, his father, Eleanor, the deals, pulls him away, and he doesn't know where to look. Sarah waits too, her hope fading with every unanswered day, the red toy car her only proof that the night was real. She doesn't know she's pregnant, doesn't know Eleanor's already watching, doesn't know the twins will one day carry that toy like a talisman. James doesn't know the truth he'll one day face, the love he'll lose and find again. This is where it begins, this night on the pier, this red toy car that binds them across years of pain and secrets. It's a moment of possibility, of two souls meeting before the world tears them apart, before Sarah's sacrifice, before James's awakening, before the twins and the wedding and the whispered words that will bring us full circle. The next moments will hurt, will break them, but this one, this first spark, is pure, a light that will guide them back to each other. Stay with me, because this is where the red toy car becomes their story, a symbol of a love that starts here, in the rain, under neon, with a toy that holds their hearts.